Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for what I believe is the 38th entry into the Writer's Quote series here on the channel. And what we do here with the Writer's Quote series is I give my opinion on a couple quotes and how these quotes might pertain to writing. I messed up and said a couple quotes because normally it's a quote, but today I've got two quotes. And I think that each one of them illuminates something a little bit different but useful to the practice of writing. I've been listening to a lot of Jocko Willink lately, a lot of David Goggins lately, and both of them talk a lot about discipline. Both of them rail against the idea of inspiration. Discipline is upon what we must rely because inspiration may or may not show up. The quotes, one comes from Abraham Lincoln, maybe. I don't know where it was that Abraham Lincoln said this. And normally if you have any quote, if you know any quote at all, you can type it into Google and then append the name Abraham Lincoln, and a website will find it. You can also use the same trick with Mark Twain, Albert Einstein, and Yogi Berra. If you know some catchy little phrase, type it into Google, append one of those names, and sure enough, a result will be found. But the quote that, and again, this could be absolutely from Lincoln. I just don't know from where it came, so I'm not willing to say this is from Abraham Lincoln. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. Abraham Lincoln. The second comes from Robert Kiyosaki. Self-discipline is the number one delineating factor between the rich, the middle class, and the poor. Robert Kiyosaki is a money guy, so I think that the immediate thing that we have to do here is sort of take a step back and say, why put a money quote out there? And I think what it is because every quote that is useful in a very literary fashion can be reupholstered in order that it might serve whatever goal it is that you have. So here, for writing, when you think about the rich, the middle class, and the poor are those individuals who rely on inspiration showing up. They are poor in that they have very few completed projects. The middle class, these are the people that, they write. They're getting stuff out. They're getting stuff done. Every now and then, something really goes well for them. But they do falter. And the rich are those individuals, well, I can give you an example that coincides with the ultra-wealthy, Stephen King. Stephen King wakes up, at one point in life, woke up, did a line of coke, and just wrote 2,000 words. I think he says that he still has the practice of writing 2,000 words after he wakes up every day. And it has been very profitable for him, both financially and from the perspective of getting projects done. So discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. If you're here on the 38th installment of a Writer's Quote series on a random YouTube video, probably on some level, you define yourself as a writer. It is in your definition of you. It being in your definition of you that you are a writer. What is it that you want? Do you want what is nice and convenient and easy and simple and comfy? So comfy right now? Or do you want to be a writer? And this is something, I don't mean you, I don't mean the ever loving you. This is something with which I struggle on a daily basis. This is something with which I am struggling incredibly right now, because what I am attempting to do right now, I'm not a novelist, but to be a writer, you have to be a novelist. Ask George Saunders. George Saunders, he of extreme short story fame, ended up writing Lincoln in the Bardo because you got to write a book. So there's a clip from Goggins where he says, I get up and I run 20 miles. And lately, I haven't felt like doing it. So I put off putting on my shoes. And I put off whatever Goggins does to prepare to run. I put off bathing in sandpaper, whatever it is that Goggins does. I put it off, and I put it off, and I put it off. So what I started doing was I started recording that voice in the back of my head. I brought a recorder out, and I started saying all these things. I don't want to do it because this. I don't want to do it because that. So I played it back, and I sound like a straight bitch. That's what Goggins said. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing with this novel that I'm trying to write. I've got myself a word limit, word goal, a word expectation, however it is that you want to phrase that. And I just keep not putting my shoes on. So I have to, at some point, realize, what is it that I want? Do I want what I want most, to be a writer? Do I want what's comfortable? It's comfortable to wake up, go to work, come home, be too tired to write. That's comfortable. Simple, easy, comfortable. But what I want most is to be able to continue to define myself as some type of writer, as a writer on some level. Now, as long as you write, you're a writer, right? But that's not how I want to consider things. I want to be the rich. I want to be someone who has projects completed and projects completed and projects completed. Right now, probably, I am somewhere in the middle class with self-discipline and with writing. And part of it's that, I have not forsaken my 9-to-5 job, 9 to 5 being 9 p.m. to 5 a.m., but I have not forsaken that. I have not assumed my life at the homeless shelter. I have not given up on this channel, on my personal channel, a link to which can be found in the description below. I'm still doing all of these other things. I want to keep doing these other things. I want to keep having money to eat. I want to keep creating in this way on this channel, on my personal channel. These are important avenues of creation to me, but they're not what I want most. So, while I still have the energy in my being, while I still have the rattle in my bones, I have to prioritize all of it, right? I have to go to work. I have to create on these channels. It's very important to me that I do this. And I have to write. So that's how these two quotes sort of align for me. I think that these quotes enrich one another as opposed to being contradictory in some way, because Lincoln's not talking about being the money guy and Robert Kiyosaki is. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most, from Abraham Lincoln. Self-discipline is the number one delineating factor between the rich, the middle class, and the poor Robert Kiyosaki. So that is all I have for this, the 38th writer's quote here in this series. If you like this sort of thing, it really does help me out here on the channel if you hit that like button. If you're here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button so that YouTube continues to suggest my videos to you in the future. And I hope to see you for the next writer's quote, for the next poetry discussion, for the next short story discussion, for the next opening paragraph discussion, for the next little bit of literature that I have on this channel.